This week on Community Watch, our guest is Brad Gilmore, who is the campus manager for the Floyd campus of Georgia Highlands College. You won't believe what's going on out there, and you want to hear about it. So, really interesting show, and Community Watch starts now. Welcome to Community Watch. I'm John Hershey, and I am very happy to have with us Brad Gilmore. And you probably know Brad Gilmore, but for those few of you who don't, Brad Gilmore is the campus manager for the Floyd campus of Georgia Highlands College. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, John.
Well, I wanted, well, there are a number of things I want to talk about, but what I especially want to talk about is there's some major changes happening at the Floyd campus.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to talk about those a little bit. I know that, Georgia Highlands grown over the years, and there's a lot of action happening out at the Cartersville campus, and
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes people forget about or take for granted that the Floyd campus, which is spectacular, and since I've been there since the early 1700s, it means a lot to me, and I've seen it change over the years, but right now, it's going through a lot.
It is.
I know folks that go out there or drive by will see, a lot of construction activity.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on out there?
Sure. So as you kind of alluded to, we've got an excellent campus. It's over 50 years old now. We've got a wonderful lake and wetlands, and the buildings themselves are really great buildings. But what we've kind of faced now that we're up in years as far as the buildings go, 50 plus, is that while Georgia Highlands has grown through Cartersville and Marietta and Paulding, and we've invested in those campuses, what some of the money that might have gone back to the Floyd campus has gone to those other ones as well. And so we are now reinvesting in the campus to make sure that we don't want anyone to think that we've forgotten Floyd campus, which we certainly haven't. Just some of the attention was kind of done to other places in the past, but now we're all in on Floyd, and so we've got some really exciting construction going up. As you alluded to as well, if you drive by today, you'll see construction fencing on several buildings, you'll see hammers going, smoke, and all sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so we've got a couple of really exciting projects right now. One, which is the largest, is in the Walraven building, which is our math and science building. And that project is a very large project, which is replacing the HVAC system, so the heating and air system. Sections of that system were the original 50-year-old system. Another section of it prior to this was a 25-year-old system that had been kind of worked in there. And all above it in the ceiling were 2 or 3 different ductwork systems. And so we used HERF funding, which is federal funding that we got during COVID. Part of that funding can be used for infrastructure, rehabilitation, or replacement to make it a cleaner air quality, a safer environment for students and faculty staff. So we earmarked part of those funds to help do this project. By doing that, it did kind of limit the scope of when that work could take place. That's why right now we've got fencing around almost the entire building. We cleared it out, and we went in with construction crews and started the process. So we have taken all of the old out, we're putting all the new in, and when it comes on board here in about another month, they're going to release it back to us about around June 1st. We will have a completely brand new and modern heating and air system. Not to get too into the weeds, but the old system was a 1970s model, which at the time was fantastic, but it also meant that it was running 24/7, 365. Chiller is blasting the coldest air that it can, 24/7, 365. The boilers are boiling the water as hot as they can for the same amount of time. And so the only way that air fluctuated was there were some manual controls that adjusted how much of each mix got in there, and that cooled or heated the building. The new model, which is the modern model, is on demand. So that boiler doesn't run unless we need it. The chiller doesn't run unless we need it. And the system itself is probably a quarter of the size of the old one. Yeah. So the cost savings alone, once it's online, will be very significant.
I'm just
so we're excited
that the system that was there in the 1970s made it this far. I mean,
yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, I would like to say that it was duct tape and baling twine, but it wasn't quite that bad. But it was to the point to where we could not get parts for it anymore because even the old stockyards had run out of it. And then the other big project that we've got going on right now is the McCorkle building, which is the main administration building. So forever, anyone that's ever been on campus knows that it had a large triangle front that you walked in. For a while, it had a large circulation desk up there in the front, but for years and years, it's kind of been empty. And when you walked in, you faced a long hallway that was narrow, and the first thing you came to was human resources, which could be great, but that's not the first thing a student needs or a community member needs or even a faculty and staff member needs. Then you would go beyond that and you would get to a junction, a fork in the road. And straight ahead were doors that led to dumpsters. To the left, to the left was admissions.
So appealing,
to the right was business office. So as a new student or community member, you'd come in and you say, where do I go?
Yeah.
And the first person you get to, maybe you had to bounce around a bit. It was just very confusing. And so now what we've done is we've taken off the triangle. We've put in a new entrance that'll be a larger door. Think grocery style doors. They'll open for you just because you're that important. You don't even have to touch anything. So you'll come in and then right in front of you will be soft seating. You'll have anything that you would possibly need right there on the side. So you don't have to interact if you don't need to, but if you do, admissions, business office, financial aid, and there's even an extra spot in case we need IT or somebody up there, to where all your questions can be answered without you having to move. And then that second and third line behind that front-facing person is all behind them. So a student comes in, financial aid question, or community member comes in wanting to know about their daughter or their grandson, what would it take for him to get enrolled here? They can go there, then that second or third line person can come to them. And so that's true customer service. So we're calling it a one-stop shop and really excited about that model. We're looking at maybe another month before it's opened up. We'll do a big ribbon cutting.
Well, I have to say, I don't know what plan led to the way it was, but it was confusing, not just for students. I mean, so I'm thrilled that it's now going to be more accessible, more open, and more welcoming, because that's what we want, and that's the reputation that we have. So finally, the building matches what we're there for.
It does. And I hope that people, as they come out to campus, whether they're a student, faculty member, or a community member, and they come onto campus, that they can see that we're investing in that. And especially the front of McCorkle, it still has elements of that mid-century look to it. We can't go ultra modern because we've got 1970s buildings that are beautiful, that do have very unique characteristics. So we don't want to detract from that, but we want to add a little bit of modernization to it to where it's complementary, but also kind of, for that next future generation. The high schoolers that are coming in now are great, but what I want is for the middle schoolers, the elementary school kids, the great-grandchildren of our current students to take pride in Georgia Highlands, particularly the Floyd campus, and to want us to be their first choice, to where they have, and we can talk about this a little bit later, but all along I want them to have some type of positive memory of something that Georgia Highlands has done that has made a positive change in their life, whether it's something like foundation camp or sports or watching a basketball game or walking around the lake or fishing with their grandfather in the lake, something that connects them back to us and we are connected back to the community. And so I think these construction projects are part of those first steps to getting there. And there should be, assuming that the money holds out, we'll knock on wood for that, we have many other projects coming down the pipe. So as soon as these are done, the first one that starts up is some new restrooms that will be larger and more ADA accessible restrooms right in the front off of this main new building that we've done. And then we've got several others that are coming down the pipe as well. So if it all works out, we will, for the next at least few years, have consistent projects for improvement.
Well, that's all good, and I think folks who maybe haven't visited the campus lately, you know, there have been some other things that have been recently completed that are pretty impressive. And I'm thinking about the patio at the library, for example, which is outside with a view of the lake.
Gorgeous
that's
view.
Pretty spectacular, especially right next to the library like that. If I was studying, I mean, that would be
right.
Of course, it might not be able to focus with the lake behind you, but it's a beautiful patio area.
That's quickly become one of my favorite spots because you have the patio overlooking that gorgeous lake. There's a fireplace there for when it's cooler. You can have fire going. We did place electrical outlets, so modern times. We're not all just reading books from the library, you know.
Well, I am, but
right.
I know some you youngsters, you know.
Yeah.
You
But if I'm looking at it on my tablet or device, I can charge it while I'm sitting out there.
Well, that's good.
And we've got a new bridge that's out there that's really pretty by the lake.
Oh yeah, my goodness.
Yeah. And eventually this summer what will happen is that bridge will lead to a hammock park. So we're going to have a nice central stand, and then you'll be able to string up at least 5 hammocks out there under the shade with that lake in the background.
Really?
It'll be a great place for a nap, or
that sounds pretty.
You could do a class out there if you didn't mind them falling asleep.
That's the one thing I missed all my teaching years, was a good place for a nap. That would have been perfect for me. I have talked to some students, and I guess folks from the community too, and I mention the lake, and they'll say, "There's a lake?" That hurts me. That hurts
me too.
Because the lake behind the campus, which has been there as long as there's been a campus, is spectacular. I mean, it's just beautiful. And for students, especially people in the community, to not know it's there, they need to visit.
I agree.
They need to get out there.
I agree. Well, and I'll throw in a shameless plug if that's okay on the
please.
show. But I would invite, if there is a community member that has not been out to the campus and seen the lake, on May 20th, which is later this month, we are hosting several events that are free for the community. And one is a youth fishing rodeo. So children that are 15 and under can come fish for free. We'll have loaner rods available with limited supplies. But we'll have loaner rods available. We're going to have prizes for the largest fish in different age categories. We're going to have bands and food trucks and bouncy houses, and everything other than some of the food trucks is completely free. We hope that people bring out their kids. Older kids are welcome too, to come and watch and hang out. We want the whole community to come. And then right after that, so that starts at 8:30, May 20th. And then right after that concludes at noon, we're going to do a car show on campus. We have about 100 cars that are registered, different ages, different makes, different models, but a wonderful car show, also free for the public. And we'll keep those food trucks there and the bouncy houses. So come and make a really nice Saturday out of it.
That's great. We have to take a break, but we've got a lot more to talk about. We're talking with Brad Gilmore, who is the campus manager for the Floyd campus of Georgia Highlands. More to come. Don't go away.
The most affordable bachelor's degree in Northwest Georgia is right here at Georgia Highlands College. High quality and career focused. That's what you can expect at GHC. Apply today at highlands.edu.
Welcome back to Community Watch. I'm having a conversation with Brad Gilmore, who is the campus manager for the Floyd campus of Georgia Highlands College. We were talking about the lake and some activities that are coming up. But for folks who don't know and haven't been out there lately or haven't been out there at all, it's honestly the most beautiful place to walk.
It is.
And I would say jog, except who am I kidding? But for me, walking, it's just a wonderful walking path around the lake, and it's a nice long walk.
It is.
If you go the full
Well,
route.
and I'll tell you, on the back, I think even people that are familiar with the loop around the lake, which is about 1.85 miles, but on the very back, there's a Wetlands Trail too. That's a boardwalk that goes out over it, and it's beautiful. It's about a quarter mile. But that's kind of my serenity zone.
Yeah.
The lake is beautiful, and I love it, especially in the morning coming in with that sunrise coming over the mountain. But in the wetlands area, there's always such diversity in life that's back there. A few weeks ago, we had monarch butterflies that were back there. It was just hundreds of them everywhere. And I've seen an otter the last few months that's kind of cruising back through that way, and snapping turtles and heron and everything else. And just something about getting back there, you just kind of lose sight of everything else, and it's just kind of that moment of zen, I guess. And it is. I think the campus is one of the prettiest places I've ever worked, hands down.
Well, I know with the trail system, there are a lot of places to go and walk and enjoy, but folks need to include that in their list of options, because it really is spectacular back there.
It is.
So I do want to talk about upcoming registration, but before I get there, you had mentioned to me that we had quite a few summer camps this year. Now, I always think in terms of foundation camp, which is, the camp I work with that we do in partnership with the 100 Black Men of Rome, Northwest Georgia, which is clearly the best camp.
It is.
Clearly. But you mentioned there are a few others, so
Right.
Folks might want to know about that.
Yeah, besides the best camp, which is
Besides
foundation
of course,
camp,
yeah.
we do have some really exciting new camps this year. So one of them that I'm probably the most excited about is Camp Hooray. It is an ESP camp, which is Extra Special People. It's in partnership with Extra Special People of Rome in Northwest Georgia, located just down the street from where we're shooting this. And so what the idea for that is, they service already in the community individuals and their families that have disabilities, typically ages 12 to 21. And so this camp will give those individuals that they're serving, or even those that are not, an opportunity to experience a summer day camp on a college campus. So it'll be kind of a similar model to how Foundation Camp is. So it's 2 weeks broken up by age group. 1 week is going to be in June, the other in July for the older kids. And so they will come out and have a day packed full of activities, from canoeing on the lake to art projects, science projects, a cotillion course, just all sorts of things that will be very beneficial. And I think it's just going to be amazing to have that group out. So really excited about that. We're also, for the first time ever, the School of Health Sciences is putting together a medical discovery camp. That's going to be a 3-day camp, and all of this is online. You can read about all of our wonderful camps on not just the Floyd campus, but on Cartersville and around us. But the Healthcare Discovery, or Medical Discovery Camp rather, is in partnership with not only Georgia Highlands, but also Blue Ridge AHEC and Atrium and the Department of Public Health, that are all coming together to show middle school age kids what different career paths they could have within the medical field. Everything from hygiene to a pulmonary specialist, respiratory therapist, physical therapy, you name it. They're going to have different blocks of time to where the middle schoolers can go through and experience this. They can talk to a professional in that field, and in the case of respiratory, see pig lungs that are inflating and deflating. And Atrium's bringing out some cadaver parts to really see like what a real heart looks like and different things. And we've got a couple of really fun things in there too, but it's going to be amazing.
Well, that sounds great. And now, when is that one?
That one, I can't remember the exact date, but it's 3 days. We've got it on the website.
All right.
You can see it. And then the last camp we're having this year is a Wetlands Camp. So it's almost like a wetlands discovery. So it's a STEM camp, but specifically focused on the natural world around us, and particularly our wetlands that we have on campus. So individuals that go through that camp, it'll be a week-long camp, will be able to talk to instructors that are from DNR and the Forestry Service and the Eco Center and our own wonderful faculty and staff that we have at the college. And they'll do things like studying the water quality within the wetlands, doing a birding tour. They'll be able to see some of the forestry equipment and learn how sustainable forest management takes place in Georgia. They'll be able to learn about invasive versus native species that are here and some of those migratory patterns. And so I think it's going to be a really interesting camp for those kids that are interested in more of the natural world around them.
Now, that sounds like something I would want to do. We ought to do some adult camps.
We could.
Because I would really enjoy that one,
Selfishly, that's the one that I'm going to probably be at the most. Because when we were putting together that camp, they said, oh, well, we've got all these things we can do in a lab. And I said, I don't want anything to be in a lab. This will be outside.
Right.
We'll be in there with waiters, and we're going to get a little dirty during this camp, and it'll be fun.
So for folks that want to find out about any of these camps, they can go to highlands.edu, and there's information there.
Yeah, highlands.edu, and in the search bar, type in summer camp, and you can find out all the information, register your child, know how much it costs, sign the waivers and everything like that.
Okay, well, that's great.
Or reach directly out to me, and I'll put them in the right direction.
And they do that by email?
By email, yeah.
All right, so what is your email address?
It is bgilmore@highlands.edu.
All right, and I'll ask you that at the very end.
That's fine.
Also.
Yep.
I know that we are, as we record this, we're in the middle of summer registration. I'm not quite sure when the show will air, but for students who want to get into summer, I encourage them to reach out. Whenever, I know summer, the full session starts early June.
It does.
So as long as it's ahead of June, they ought to reach out and just see
Yep.
see if they can.
Yeah, mid-May is the cutoff for the summer registration. So if they, depending on when this airs, if they're considering summer school or are coming to us in the summer, yes, reach out as soon as you can and we'll get you all set up. And for fall, they've got until about mid-August, so August 18th is the cutoff for that. But it's never too early to go ahead and register for fall, to apply, to get accepted, and then register. Because even though some of the classes are out and some of the professors are gone during the summer, we're still wide open. We've got our advisors on staff. We've got our financial aid people on staff. So come on in or call or text or email and we'll help.
Those dates are for new students.
Right.
So returning students, as long as they haven't been out too long, more than a year, I think, they can, as long as the classes that they need are available, they can go ahead and register.
Absolutely. They might want to talk to an advisor just to make sure.
That. I do recommend
just to make sure you're signing up for the right class. We don't want to spend money that we don't have to. So let's do that.
And you know what I don't think a lot of people still realize is that Georgia Highlands is part of the university system.
You're
of
correct.
Georgia, and I think you mentioned earlier or referred to us as the public college. And
we are. So yes, we're part of the university system of Georgia. There's 26 institutions, so you can put us right in that same field with Kennesaw and UGA and West Georgia. But for Rome-Floyd County, we're the only public college in this community. We have some excellent institutions here, but they are private. So if you want that public education that's going to give you just as good of an education, I mean, I would stack up our faculty with anyone under the planet. They're fantastic. But the difference is
Georgia Northwestern, which has a different
technical
mission.
college, yes. But you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck at Georgia Highlands.
And it's an excellent place to go to get a good start, to get an associate degree, and then transfer and finish. But more and more is possible to stay and get your full bachelor's degree. I mean, there are so many more options for that now.
It is, yeah. The new student newspaper came out today, hot off the presses, and this is one of my favorite issues we have every year because it does list out our graduates. And as you're thumbing through, if anyone's seen it yet, as you thumb through and you get to the graduates and you start looking at the bachelor's level, my goodness, it's 2.5 pages worth of a newspaper of all the bachelor students from different fields, different topics. And so you are correct. It's an excellent place to not only get your associates and transfer out, but also stay and get your bachelor's. I myself got my associates from Georgia Highlands and then left and came back and got my bachelor's from here. So I'm all in.
You are a product.
I'm a product. Yeah,
that's excellent.
I was one of the first cohort of the bachelor's of business administration and healthcare management.
And now you're managing the campus.
Now I'm managing the campus. Yes,
and
we've got some other graduates that have done their bachelor's. And if you were to walk around Rome, one of the things that makes me the proudest is if you were to walk around Rome or Floyd County and go into any room and ask them who here has either gone to Georgia Highlands or Floyd Junior College or Floyd College, or someone in your family has, 9 times out of 10 is 70% of the room raises their hand. There is a deep connection to the campus and to this community. And kind of to roll it back in with how we started is I think that we are reinvesting in the community and into the campus. And I just hope that the community comes out and checks it out.
Well, Brad, we're totally out of time.
Okay.
Folks, you want to ask Brad a question? bgilmore@highlands.edu.
That's right.
Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you. This was fun.
And thank you for being with us this week on Community Watch. We'll see you next time.